census is one of the most important building blocks of our nation's democracy. It determines how many representatives we get in Congress, and it determines how many billions of dollars in federal resources get distributed. And many of us believe that the decision to add a citizenship question puts that in jeopardy. I don't believe it will achieve the administration's stated goal of helping to enforce the Voting Rights Act. I actually believe this question could sabotage the ability of the Census Bureau to get an accurate count of every person living in the United States, which should be the only goal of the census. And whether it's unintentional or by design, this citizenship question, I know, will be undercounted. And this means
if you're a citizen, you got nothing to worry about.
Dollars in federal resources could even mean that our seats in Congress could be changed.
Good.
I don't think this is against our immigrant community. We know that our DACA students and young people are feeling constantly unnerved and anxious and confused about what their
That guy was a staffer for the David Hadley campaign. I don't know what he's doing here.
Their whole lives. We have seen ICE come in and round people up.
Good.
People that have lived here for 39, 40 years as they're picking up their kids from school.
Good.
So, this is not an unfounded fear. This is not an unfounded anxiousness. When I went for a doctor
Chanel,
checkup,
can you freaking believe this? Oh, the poor immigrants, they're afraid. Honey, if you're here legally, you got nothing to worry about. Okay, good. And I sign all of that.
This fear that people are feeling, this unnerving, this anxiousness that wasn't there before. So this is real, and to put this question on the census, I think will skew the counting and will not give us an accurate count of who lives here, and no matter what their status is, who we are responsible for in LA County to provide for. So thank you, Supervisor Solis, for letting me co-author this motion, and I think LA County once again has to stand up and voice our opinion on why we think this is really wrong.
Thank you, Supervisor Barker.
Thank you.
Let's see what she has to say.
A lot of our funding through the federal government is tied to our population. So beyond the voting, my concern is that as the representatives for the largest county in the United States, if we do not get an accurate count, it could have a negative impact across all sectors within the county. And I appreciate Judge Police expanding it to the other states. Do you know if New York State's argument is differing from the state of California, or is it the same issue as it relates to, I think discrimination is what they were, or I don't know what the legal term is, but.
This Supervisor Barker, New York Attorney General is considering they haven't yet filed, but we believe they will be with some other governments, and it's going to be the same arguments: violation of the Constitution and state law and federal law. Excuse me.
You know, again, this is not about undocumented versus documented community. This is about getting an accurate count that is going to reflect the number of people residing in LA County, which is tied to not only the voting component, but also the funding component, which in this county, even with the federal government pre-ACA, they would tie our reimbursement to those that they already knew were in this county, undocumented. So it's important for us to get an accurate number in order to get properly reimbursed. Otherwise, this county is not sustainable as it relates to what's being brought in with our property tax, with our realignment. So for me, this truly is about doing what's right for
They're running out of money here in LA County. Are we surprised?
It's important that we encourage people to participate in the census count. And so for that reason, I will be supporting your motion moving forward.
Oh, brother.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Madam Executive Officer, please call the persons who were invited to speak on this issue.
The following individuals Please come forward when you hear your name and staff will assist you. Jeanette Serrano, Efren Escobedo, Manjusha Kulkarni, Alton Wang. Please come forward and staff will assist you.
Unbelievable.
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Good morning, honorable supervisors. My name is Efrain Escobedo. I'm Vice President of Education and Immigration Initiatives with the California Community Foundation. I thank you both Supervisor Solis and Han for bringing this motion forward. At the California Community Foundation, we've also been working very closely in supporting the work that Dorothea has been doing on behalf of the county, and happy to report that we feel confident about the efforts in the coalition building, but are very disturbed and concerned about the addition of the citizenship question. As Supervisor Vargas mentioned, this is not really about whether you support immigration policy or not. This is about protecting a 200-year-old institution from being politicized. And if we've been referencing the fact that we stand to lose hundreds of millions of dollars just in an overall undercount, the fact of having close to 1 million undocumented immigrants not wanting to participate in the census changes that calculation into the billions of dollars. So the game definitely changes. This question was introduced despite there being memos from the actual Census Bureau researchers saying in 2017 that there was significant amount of fear from immigrants and that the citizenship question would only increase those fears. Despite that, the question was introduced. And with regard to it being able to support Voting Rights Act, citizenship question has not been asked in the census since 1950. And with the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act, it adjusted to use the American Community Survey and has worked just fine through 6 redistricting and reapportionment processes. So we're here on behalf of California Community Foundation and the communities that we serve to say we have a formula through public-private partnerships. We joined the county with the LA Justice Fund in response to these type of policies, and we're here to again invite you to partner with us, and we're here to support our efforts.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Manjusha Kulkarni, and I'm the Executive Director of the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council.
Okay.
APCON is
They
a
were
coalition
invited
of
to
40
speak.
community-based
Where's the other side on
organizations
this
that
issue?
serve and represent the
Why weren't we
1.5
invited?
million Asian Pacific Islanders in Los Angeles County, which includes thousands of immigrants, in addition to U.S. citizens. 1.5 million APIs. We know that because of the U.S. Census. Since President Trump was inaugurated in January 2017,
Yay.
our organizations have seen a dramatic drop in the individuals seeking public benefits, including WIC and food stamps, women seeking help with domestic violence, and individuals obtaining mental health services, all because of fears of public charge. The citizenship question that the Trump administration is adding will do the same on paper that public charge concerns have done to our clients and our communities. It will create fear and trepidation. Just as public charge has caused individuals to stay away, the citizenship question seeks to have immigrants disappear from our communities. The results of the census determined more than $675 billion in federal funding. It is used to draw districts, apply civil rights laws, and determine what funds are available for bridges, schools, and law enforcement. As such, the census is absolutely critical in how our taxpayer dollars are spent and laws are enforced. The U.S. Constitution tells us that the role of government is to form a more perfect union. We cannot improve that which we cannot measure. And so for that reason, we urge that the passage of the motion to join efforts of the California Attorney General in opposing the citizenship question to the 2020 census. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Alton Wang, and I am the Assistant Director of API Data, a project that seeks to make policy research and demographic data on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders more accessible. As an organization, we extensively rely on the United States Census to produce data that gives us an accurate picture of the AAPI community, including data on the extensive growth of our more than 22 million strong population across the country, the fastest growing population, growing more than 45% in the last decade. Even before the Secretary of Commerce announced the inclusion of the citizenship question on the 2020 census, an accurate count of the AAPI community was already under threat. About 1 in 5 Asian Americans and 1 in 3 Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders live in hard-to-count census tracts, which require more extensive and often in-person follow-up to collect a response. Furthermore, more than 1 in 3 Asian Americans are limited English proficient, and approximately 3 in 4 Asian Americans speak another language at home other than English. These existing challenges were already enormous barriers to ensure AAPIs will be fully counted in 2020. Yet, as the majority of the AAPI community are composed of immigrants, adding a citizenship question in today's xenophobic political landscape threatens undercounting of AAPI and immigrant communities even further. Today, there are more immigrants from the Asia-Pacific region to the United States.
I'm not afraid of people who don't look like me.
The majority of the
but I'm fed up with our immigration laws being despised and
greater share
ignored.
than other large immigrant populations. Moreover, 1 out of every 7 Asian immigrants are undocumented, and we know that immigration status is strongly correlated with undercounting.
Good.
A fear of deportation persists within our communities. The inclusion of the citizenship question further diminishes trust within the AAPI community with giving the government personally identifiable information. By adding a citizenship question, the threat of undercounting is fundamentally exacerbated. Any decrease in the response rates from immigrant communities stemming from the fear of the citizenship question will risk having the census fail in its only constitutional mandate, which is to accurately count the total number of people in the United States, not just citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Executive Officer, please call the rest of the people who have signed up to speak on this item.
Will the following individuals please come forward? The staff will assist you. Mariana Magana, Ricker Larson, Eric Previn, Nathaniel McNabb, and Arthur Schaefer. Please come forward.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Chair Kuehl and fellow supervisors. My name is Rose Soriano. On behalf of the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, or the Federal Education Fund, I would like to express our strong support for item 2, which would help ensure that Los Angeles County plays a key role in opposing the addition of the citizenship question to the 2020 United States Census. I want to thank Supervisors Solis and Han for their leadership on this critical issue. Latino Educational Fund is the nation's leading nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that facilitates full Latino participation in the American political process, from citizenship to public service. Ensuring a fair and accurate census is core to our mission. We like to say that the census is about 2 little things: money and power. The use of census data in apportionment and redistricting determine whether Los Angeles County's residents have a fair voice in our electoral process. Census data determine the annual allocation of more than $77 billion to California, with a large share going to fund programs that are vital to the county's well-being. The addition of a citizenship question to Census 2020 will have a particularly adverse effect on obtaining an accurate count of Latinos, who are Los Angeles County's largest population group, comprising 49% or nearly half of all residents. Nearly 1 of every 4, 24% of whom are not yet U.S. citizens, and with far more living in mixed-status families. In the current political environment, a citizenship question will raise concerns in all households, native and foreign-born, about the confidentiality of information provided to the government. The last-minute addition of an untested and unnecessary citizenship question will cost taxpayers millions of dollars by lowering response rates and will result in less accurate data about the county. Ultimately, adding the citizenship question would sabotage the constitutional mandate that the census obtain a complete count of all the nation's residents. For these reasons, we strongly support item 2 and urge Los Angeles County to continue to take a leadership role on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, my name is Mariana Magaña, and I'm here representing SHILA, the Coalition for Humanity and Human Rights. Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors, for allowing this opportunity to speak here today. On behalf of the organization, I'd like to thank Supervisor Overseas and Supervisor John and for their quickly taking action on the citizen question brought to me by Secretary Ross of the United States Department of Commerce. With nearly 3.5 million immigrants living in Los Angeles County, many geographical areas have already been deemed hard to count by census. The addition of these questions will only negatively impact our most vulnerable communities. This question would only result in the misguided allocation of billions of dollars in federal funding to state and local governments, therefore undermining the representation of our communities. Once efforts being taken by Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, Vice Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Hahn, and the remainder of the board to take efforts on this matter, and we reiterate our support for this motion and any efforts by LA County to ensure our town of our community, immigrant community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Richard Larson, and obviously this census is important, right? Morally, we have an obligation to ourselves to make sure we're represented correctly. It's unfortunate that the Trump administration is trying to demean and diminish people's ability to answer questions simply by intimidating them.
Nonsense.
I'm just waiting for this person to stop commenting. Anyways, I'm also here to say that, you know, if I was a person, I'd be fearful of what a census person would say to me. But I want you to know that there's other things that people should be fearful of, and that is pedophiles and rapists coming to their door pretending to be something they're not. You know, if Wes Ford, who works for the county health department, was allowed to go out and do censorship questions. What's that?
Please keep on this topic. If you say that for public comment, we'll take personal comments later.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So what I'm saying is we have a moral obligation to make sure that the people who do census work are not out there to exploit people for other reasons. They're not out there to pursue an agenda. Maybe they're against the job that they're doing. Maybe they have no interest in actually providing us, the people who are paying them, the actual information that we're requesting. I think what the administration is trying to do is make it much more likely that people will be disenfranchised from this whole system. I think that's unfortunate, and I do hope that we do protect, you know, the people and the institutions that run this from undue bias or false plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Arthur Schopper. I'm a proud resident of Torrance, California, proud citizen of the United States. I keep hearing the chronic misuse of the word immigrant. That implies clearly that you have entered this country legally and you are a legal resident. I keep hearing about fear in immigrant communities. If you're here legally, you have nothing to worry about. The fact is that the census is supposed to take note of the citizens in our country, not those in the country illegally. It is offensive to me. It is offensive to the millions of people who came to this country legally that their efforts are being diminished and undermined and being equated with those who broke into this country and have gotten on the public dole, and they shouldn't even be here in the first place. I think it's outrageous that this board is going to take time to join with the corrupt lawsuit of the corrupt Attorney General Javier Becerra, who frankly is in violation of the federal law and our Constitution. Instead of joining with a lawsuit against the Trump administration, which has every right to ensure that citizens are counted and no one else, you should be filing a lawsuit against the state and against the Attorney General. And frankly, I wish that Sheriff Jim McDonnell would get a criminal indictment and arrest the guy. You have a responsibility to the United States Constitution. My sign could not be clearer. Respect the Constitution. You have the two statements on the wall here that affirm the commitment to we the people, which implies citizens, not illegal aliens. And I must correct my representative, Janice Hahn. We are not a democracy. We are a republic in which the rights of all citizens are protected, regardless of who is in power and regardless of majority sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I oppose the County of Los Angeles in regards to trying to join this amicus brief transaction that will strike against our rule of law. The U.S. Census Bureau question is not in violation of the law. The U.S. does not advocate human trafficking. If people are coming over here and they're illegal, they're here against the law. There's nothing wrong with having this question on the census. You know, no longer are we going to cater to people who come over here and violate our laws. We have one rule of law, and that's the Constitution. We're not going to have two sets of laws. One rule of law for them, one rule of law for us. It stops, and it stops here now. It stops. Also, the question, someone raised the question if this is a political scheme and it's about money and power, and I also want to say it's about destruction. Because the people that you want to count, you got to keep in mind, came over here and they destroyed the black community with racist, illegal immigration. Blacks were kicked off their jobs. Blacks were kicked out of their homes. Has the county done a county having concern about that? No. We were here, we helped build this country. What about us? What about our community? What about what they've done to us? LA County, you're gonna pay for what you did to the black community, and you know it's wrong. And again, I oppose this nonsense.
Thank you. No other speakers have signed up on this item. Supervisor Solis.
Yes, Madam Chair. Just before we close, I did want to submit some letters that were sent for the record from CHIRLA, from the Asian American Advancing Justice Organization, and from EPIC, a Native American and
This county's
API.
falling apart so fast.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We ask for a positive vote and as amended.
Thank you. This is as amended. The amendment was distributed. It adds, as well as any other state or entity, into the initial sentence. So moved by
You notice how
Supervisor
Rip-Off
Solis,
Thomas is in here?
Supervisor Hahn.
Of course not.
Any objection?
Too busy getting his car washed.
Unanimous vote?
I signed up for 5 too.
Okay, I gotta take a look at that.
That will be the action. All right, we'll move now to item 3.
Of course it
Supervisor
passed.
Solis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try to be brief here, but this is such an important item that I wanted to take note of it today, and I'm happy that we have our Department of Public Works.
It is human
Mark Costello
trafficking.
here as well. I know he spent a lot of time on this issue regarding the lower LA River plan.
What do you want to talk about with 5?
I wanted to note that it's an exciting day because for the last almost 2 years, there have been several communities along the lower river that encompass part of my district as well as Supervisor Hahn, as well as Supervisor Lily Thomas. We have been working through a collaborative working group.
But there's nothing to talk about,
somewhat
really.
spearheaded by our speaker, Assembly Member.
Okay, well, it's up to you. I'm not telling you what
who
to
helped
do.
to create this working group for the lower LA River. We all know how very
What is it?
important the LA River, it spans far north into Supervisor Kuhl's
It's
area.
pending. It's up there.
Runs all the way
It's
down
pending.
to Long Beach.
5 is pending.
About 56 miles.
Okay,
but
I gotta sign up for 9 and 12.
This is an important area to focus on because we see so much effort and so much interest.
They're not gonna do 9.
I simply wanted to make note that over the last 18 months, the working group
12's up there, though.
26 outreach events, 22 public meetings.
Okay, let me do 12.
60
And I'll do
community
5. I'll do it just because it
development
kicks.
plan. And throughout, the leadership has come and stemmed from our Department of Public Works. And I want to especially congratulate Mark Costello because I know in conversations we had almost 3 years ago. he mentioned that
So,
originally
Barger
the
hired you?
plans
You're her chief of staff now or something?
Now
Or
we're looking at
just a staffer on her
revitalizing
team?
something that many of us
Okay.
thought could never happen. A pavement, a river that really didn't look like a river that any of us saw in history books could somehow gain the focus and interest of so many people from across the state. I'm very proud that the plan was recently completed this February, and that all 39 members are supporting this effort. Quite an accomplishment to have so many cities and stakeholders sit down and agree for the first time that this is going to be a priority. And this will obviously help us to create a better, healthy ecosystem, improve our community and quality of life, and allow for, again, planning around the river for fun, for recreation, for fundamental use. But more importantly, it will be a document that will help to lead us forward. And I'm so happy that the county board of supervisors, as well as our county Department of Public Works, has helped to lead this charge. There's a great noted report that is being issued, and I direct all the board offices and your deputies to look at this. And with that, Madam Chair, I was just asking if our department head could please speak to this.
Got everything?
I don't know what 45 is.
You can just click that little X.
Okay, got it. That was weird. I wanted to speak on 5.
5, okay.
So I want to make sure. All right, well, let me hit next. Oh, I've got to put my name's there. I chose it. 12. Okay, I cleared them all out.
Oh, it's because it's related to 12. That's all.
Fair enough. Okay. Acknowledge. Does it have a list of what I've...
It does not, unfortunately.
That's fine. Okay, just as long as
it's through 8530, as you know, but also putting our leadership stand.
So this is just outrageous.
Engaging the 15 cities in the southeast area of Los Angeles County to come together. As you mentioned, 60 community meetings, a community first plan that we're really proud of, and we think that is very telling about the communities that live along and recreate along the Los Angeles River. So again, I encourage all the board members to take a strong look at it, and I'm looking forward to celebrating ribbon cutting on Friday for the plan. As a reminder, the plan covers 19 miles. It in this 19 miles, the lower river serves 64% of the households are low income. 72% of the businesses along this area are minority owned. We've connected over 40 agencies, as you mentioned, in doing this, and we've identified 155 potential projects to be built from the area of Vernon all the way to the city of Long Beach. And so, thank you for acknowledging our department's work, but also I want to make sure that we acknowledge all of our partners out there in the board for their leadership in this plan. Looking forward to the Greater Los Angeles River Master Plan.
Thank you.
25-6.
Madam Executive Officer, please call those who have been signed up to speak on this, and I'll go to Supervisor Hahn after.
Oh, this was big. It's good we showed up.
The
You see the
following
photos they took
individuals
for
please
you?
come forward when I call your name.
We need to
Mark
be there.
Stanley,
We need to
Eric
be there to
Bevin,
show it.
Ritter Larson.
Yeah.
Please come
I'm glad we
forward
made
and
it.
staff
I'm
will
glad I made
assist
it.
you.
Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to thank the 40 stakeholders that make up this working group for your time, your dedication, spanning 2 years.
I think it's worth talking about 6, the legal status issue.
Around the table, and still finding a consensus is impressive. I really wanted to commend all of you for carefully developing these goals and objectives that work for and protect the marvelously diverse communities that we have along this river. I wanted to applaud the working group for including the Community Stabilization Toolkit, which is designed to prevent displacement and address issues such as inclusionary housing policies, workforce development, and locally owned business support. Happy to see that the working group also developed a watershed education program. It's exciting to know that our communities, especially our young people, will be connected to wildlife habitat and unique recreational options right in their own backyard. Thank you to the working group for creating really such a comprehensive plan to revitalize.
I'm going to speak on
Lower LA
6 because
River.
it talks
Thank you,
about
Mark,
legal status. Oh,
for
that
your
matters.
leadership on this project. Before I even became a member of the County Board of Supervisors, you
Because she
were
was
back
legal.
walking the halls of
Right.
Congress.
Please do. Please.
And bringing awareness.
You'll be next
to us
after me if you sign up
about,
right now.
The LA River and the need for federal funding, and we fought every time to include some federal funding in the bills that we were passing having to do with water back in Congress. So thank you for your leadership on this, and thank you again to all of those who have been involved in this. I look forward to the day when this LA River is everything that so many people have hoped and dreamed it would be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to our speakers. First speaker, please. Either gentleman may speak.
Thank you. I'm Mark Stanley from the San Gabriel and North Los Angeles Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, working closely with the county on the update of the master plan that created this revitalization plan. First of all, I'd like to thank the supervisors for your visionary leadership in addressing the entire 51 miles of the LA River. This is just the lower half, the 19-mile section that was put in place by AB 530, California, Sullivan, Anthony, Brendan, authored that bill that formed the working group. It's been a tremendous process working with all the community members in the cities along the lower half of the river. It was truly driven by them as opposed to projects that were driven by consultants and us leaders in the agencies. Everything that you're going to see in the plan was driven by the community members themselves, all the recommendations. The signature projects, which it identifies several signature projects out of the 155 projects that are included in the toolkits, are a tremendous guide for all those cities along the lower half of the river. We've been so honored to participate in this process with the county and them providing their leadership and updated a master plan, creating this visionary revitalization plan.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yeah, my name is Richard Larson. I used to live in San Antonio, and anyone who's visited San Antonio has probably been to the Riverwalk. And what used to be a filthy, dirty river with toilet paper and plastic bags, just strewing every piece of tree and shrub going down the river, it's turned into something really beautiful. I hope this project includes a bikeway all the way through it. And,
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Catherine. Do you
Yeah.
know with the executive office? Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
The county went, I'm a little tired. The board, you signed up for multiple items.
Yes.
To address the board. When there's multiple items, there's a 6-minute total. So
Oh.
what we do is allocate your time. So you signed up for item 2, which is a board held item. You spoke 2 minutes on it.
Okay.
It gives you 4 minutes. So you also have 5, 6, 12, and 45. I have to see if the board held those items. If the board did not hold those items,
Okay.
because we don't
1 minute
do-
for each.
No.
Okay.
Allocate up to 3 minutes to address all of them at one time. Because they're going to call you and say, okay, you signed up for 5, 6, 12, 45. You're going to address them all at one time, under 3 minutes.
Okay, wait a minute. What's the general limit everybody gets?
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay.
To 2 minutes. For board item. With this one item, you get 2 minutes. But if you have multiple items, then you allocate your time.
Okay.
So in this case, you signed up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items.
So I'd have to speak on all of them?
So the way it works is that
Just to briefly close it,
when
I
the
also
board
want to
holds an
thank
item,
our
that's separate from the multiple items that you just held in general. Okay. So you can allocate up to 2 minutes on that. You can use 1 minute at a time, or you can use 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes.
Okay.
So you have 4 minutes left.
Okay.
You still have items 5, 6, 12, and 45.
Okay.
I don't believe the board held any of those. So you have up to 3 minutes.
When you say held, that means they moved it ahead, or they?
That means you held it, not them, because you wanted to make it.
How am I? Okay.
So like number 2, the board held the item because they had comments on it.
Okay. This is all consent calendar? Is that the thing?
Yes, it should be consent calendar. Let me get my agenda. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Motion by Supervisor Solis, seconded by Supervisor Barger. Any objection to a unanimous vote on item number 3? Seeing none, that will be the action. We'll move now to item 25. I'd like to invite Gary Jones from Beaches and Harbors up to our department table and invite Wolfgang Puck up to the...
Now 12 is an agenda item. It's an administrative matter.
But you held it, not the board, because you wanted to make comments on it. If you didn't hold it, the board will approve it. But because you held it, that means you want to make some comments on it?
I see. Okay.
So number 12 was not held by the board. It was held by you. Okay?
Right. Okay, I see your point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to be able to speak on 12 and, okay, the 45 was added to it by proxy. I didn't add it.
This probably relates to me.
That's why, and I don't see why my time should be taken.
They're just going to call them together.
Okay, good. 12 and 45 are together. That to me is essential. We have 6 minutes total to speak to the board. That's what I've been told.
So hold on. So item number 2, the supervisors held it.
So it doesn't count into that,
You
does
had
it?
2 minutes.
Okay.
That's gone. You have 4 minutes left. So you have 5, 6, 12. 12 relates to 45.
So it should be 1, not 2, shouldn't it? You know what I mean? Because they're together.
It's 4 items. It doesn't matter. The board didn't hold them. Hold on. Let me finish, please. It doesn't matter. You held it, even if it relates, whether it's 3 or 4. You only have up to 3 minutes to address all those items. So they're going to call you. They're going to say you have 5, 6, 12, which relates to 45. you have up to 3 minutes. You can allocate 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
I have to do it all in 4 minutes?
In 3 minutes.
In 3.
You have up to 3 minutes. You have 6 minutes total.
So I used 2, and then
You
there's
have 4
3.
left.
Okay, so what about that other one?
Did you sign up for public comment?
No, I haven't.
Okay. You get up to 3 minutes for the multiple items.
The maximum length
That's
for
the
a
max for
non-lodging
all the
concession
multiples.
state
So that's
When did this rule change happen? Because I've been here before, and
This
people
has
speak.
always been the rule. It's just that now we're talking, no, it's been the rule forever. It's just that they never really, how did I just say? They really didn't do it because of the multiple people and the multiple items. We're trying to give everyone an opportunity to speak. And therefore, it's been going on since last year.
Since last year? But you said it's been going on since forever.
It's always been the rule.
But you mean they're
Now
enforcing it?
we're-
Isn't that interesting?
I'm not saying enforcing. What I'm saying is they're now doing this so that everyone has the opportunity to speak.
All right.
Okay, so you have 3 minutes.
Okay, to speak on all those items? So when is that going to happen
When
then?
they call you.
Okay, is that going to be soon?
I'll be right with you, sir.
When is that going to happen? When item 5 gets called?
No, they're going to call when they finish with the items at the board held. Then they're going to go on to the multiple items at the public held, not the board. So right now, what they're doing is they're calling all the items at the board held.
Board held. So that's why they're going 2, 3, 25, 6.
Yes. After that, all the items that the members of the public held, they're going to say, okay, Mr. I'm sorry, your last name.
Shopper.
You held this, and that.
Okay.
Go ahead and speak on all this.
Okay.
And you have up to 3 minutes.
Well, those are the ones I want to speak on ultimately, and that's okay.
Yeah, so you'll be able to speak on all.
Well, I guess we won't be here till 1:30.
So
I guess.
after they do the held items, they'll go to public
So they have
comment.
2 more after this. This is 25. They're going to do 6 and 22.
I think it was. I'm not sure. I have to go look at the notes.
All right.
Yeah. But it's always been the rule. They just didn't really uphold it until recently. Now they're just giving everyone an opportunity because some people are holding every item on the agenda,
Okay.
which is your problem. But we
In
want to make sure everyone
evaluating
gets their just
responsive proposals, the independent evaluation committee.
They're cracking down on freedom of speech.
Construction and operation of experiences.
This is ridiculous. Well, at least I won't be here all day. I'm really glad we made it, Chanel. I'm really glad. I'm telling you, it was a trade-off with the capital T. If I stayed all the way in Huntington Beach, I wouldn't have made this. And I felt really bad because we worked on this. I'm like, I can't skip this. We worked on this. Looks like I'm going to have to send out a message to Janvier when I get a chance.
Operation of the restaurant based on their respective areas of expertise, such as their efforts in
Wolfgang Puck is here.
appear the most likely to result in a successful delivery of the proposed project. The senior members of PCH Beach Associates, who will be Wolfgang Puck, Conception and Operations. Pastime Partners, LLC, Carl Schuster, Manager, Funding and Financing.
Okay.
Tillotson.
What was the disqualification based on?
There's Wolfgang Puck.
There were a number of items that they did not fulfill the requirements of the
And it's crazy. I mean, they set this up. You know, normal folk can't do their thing. They're either working or whatever. So they get the unions, the welfare queens, and the illegals. They can come anytime they want. Yeah. You know, this is very frustrating. We as citizens, if we're working, if we've got families, we can't come to the Board of Supervisors every 5 minutes. The only people who can make it are the welfare queens, the unions, and the illegals.
Mr. Puck.
Good morning, Chair Shilapur and Chinese Han. The last time I was here, Kenneth Han was here, so we all look up to him.
And you have an age to
Ms.
be,
Solis,
actually.
Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Barker. It's really an honor to be here. And it's really an honor for me after having restaurants in Los Angeles for 36 years. You know, we opened Spargo in Los Angeles, really. Now it's West Hollywood. So I still remember when we opened it, and everybody told me, why you open a restaurant on Sunset Boulevard? So I say, and we are in business still today, and I must say we're open for 36 years, and last year was our best year yet. So continuity and innovation really play a big part in our business. So when this proposal came up to redo Gladstone, which I know also for 30 years, which used to be a real icon on the beach out there, I said, you know, I have to team up with the best architect, who is Frank Gehry, a Los Angeles guy who is doing the river project, but more important, I think he's so involved in the community too, just like us. He actually, with my wife Gelina back, is building a treatment center for abused kids in Watts. And he is really doing it pro bono.
They're being abused by illegals.
Like that cost a fortune. But I'm really excited. I don't know who has the thing to click that. Oh, you can click it, yeah. So here is the design Frank Gehry is building, Frank Gehry proposed.
Why is this here? Why are they talking about this on the Board of Supervisors?
Things like that, like the
About
kitchen
this?
rolls, the dining room, private rooms. But it will be a restaurant for everybody in the city. We're going to have a cafe where people can come and spend $12 or $15 for a meal, or we're going to have an upscale dining restaurant where people can have an amazing dinner, where people can come from all over the world, or it will be a neighborhood restaurant to serve the beach community. We're going to have an ice cream shop, so if parents come with their kids, whatever, and they don't want to eat, they eat their sandwich.
He's getting a contract with the Board of Supervisors.
And they will be really happy. But I'm also very excited to be with my partners here who are sitting over there, Tom Tellefson and Carl Schuster. Carl Schuster is with me, works with me for many, many years. He has now his own investment finance group also, and Tom Tellefson, who is a friend of mine and a customer for many years too. So this for me would be probably my lifetime dream, to be working with Frank Gehry and to have my new flagship right here in LA County. And I think for me, I'm very proud of what I did. My reputation is the most important thing I have. And this really will enhance of what we do, but mainly it will create a total new experience for Angelinos. So thank you for having me. I said this time is expired. I could explain you what we're gonna cook, what we're gonna do, but more important also, we're going to create hundreds of jobs. The restaurant will be open, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We'll have 300 people. At Fargo, we have...
Or how many robots will be working there?
I project we're going to have over 300 employees there, and jobs for people where they actually can make really good money.
Thank you.
Latino?
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the presentation.
No, I didn't hear that. For
Of course,
Latinos?
there is always a person who will contest our choice. And under our procedure, we allow the same amount of time that you spoke, Mr. Putt, to the person who is contesting this choice. So at this point, perhaps it would be appropriate to call them forward. I timed it at about 3¼ minutes, but we're not too loose, but we're not too...
Madam Chair, just before we hear from the opposing
Supervisor
side,
Solis?
I wanted to ask you, I know you've been uniquely involved in workforce training efforts to create jobs for
Wolfgang is right there. Yeah, he's the blue shirt.
hardships, reentry folks. So I'm hoping that this will also give us opportunity to include that component, since we do have a culinary school that we're running now with veterans, homeless vets, out of our military offices right now, military service offices, where people are actually getting trained.
Brother.
And I'm sure would somehow like to be
It's about time.
and hopefully engage.
So let's ask Mr. Jones, in terms of the RFP, do we include the priorities of the county in terms of our hiring, as we do in many of our county areas? I know there's a PLA in the RFP. Did we also ask if those proposers will engage in our sort of targeted hiring practices?
God, this is a nightmare.
Make clear that the operation would need to abide by board policies, including the local and targeted worker hiring policy. And Supervisor Solis, we did pass on the comments with regards to the program you just described to Mr. Puck and Mr. Tellefson team for their review of that. And during the negotiations, if this item is approved, we will ensure that that's an element that we discuss and negotiate with them, and include that, if at all possible, in the documents we bring back.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Several people have signed up to speak, but let us call we can't go call the opponent, but the person who is really contesting the choice. All those who signed up to speak will be called up. One person contesting the choice will be given the 3.5 minutes, and the rest, as usual, 2 minutes. So please call those who have signed up to speak.
The two opponents are Nick Buford and Greg Plummer, and we have Eric Previn, Carl Schulster, and Thomas Teleson. Please come forward.
Welcome, gentlemen. Who wishes to speak for the person contesting?
Myself, Nicholas Buford.
All right, well, then let's tee up, let's say 3.5. Please go ahead.
Good morning, distinguished supervisors. I'm one of the partners of Cruise, the majority owner of Sunset and Ocean Partners, the second-ranked final proposer in this procurement that is currently before the board. We have worked tirelessly over the past 7 months to submit a proposal to LA County that is compliant with the RFP requirements and emphasizes diversity, environmental sustainability, responsible employment practices, with a dining and entertainment destination approachable to all LA residents. Sunset is a majority minority-owned business with extensive experience in food and beverage contracts with public entities and a proven record of providing quality service and high rents to the city of Los Angeles at LAX. We are extremely disappointed in the current recommendation based on numerous factors and the flaws in the process and the recommended PCH Beach proposal, all of which are outlined in the letters submitted to the board from our attorneys. Based on the county's council review, they presume to waive what they call insubstantial errors, but we find these errors made by the recommended proposer in total to be material and substantial enough for the board to postpone this vote until when you have a full board present and have a chance to fully review the claims set forth before you in more detail to ensure the board is not approving a tainted or non-responsive recommendation. Furthermore, we also respectfully request that the board require Beaches and Harbors Director Gary Jones to release the names of the undisclosed anonymous reviewers that Beaches and Harbors used to review the proposals. The department stated that they did not want to release the reviewers' names in order to keep the integrity in the process. Now that the scoring is completed and the recommendation has been made, we ask that these reviewers' names be released only to the current proposers and the board in order for all parties to confirm that no actual conflicts exist between the reviewers and the proposers. I also have the question of if they disqualified one company for not submitting key documents, why was PCH Beach not disqualified as well for not submitting key documents? I thank the Board of Supervisors for the time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, distinguished Board of Supervisors.
Good morning.
I am also one of the small business partners of Cruise, the majority owner of Sunset and Ocean Partners, the second-ranked proposer in this procurement that is currently before the board. While we are not here to dispute the fine reputation of Chef Wolfgang Puck and Frank Gehry, with all due respect, even celebrities must follow the rules of the public procurement process.
Wow. How about that?
I want to reiterate that our group submitted a proposal to LA County that is compliant with the RFP
Man,
requirements.
I don't know. I just get sick.
Greatest rent to the county while emphasizing
This whole thing is too big, too mishandled. If I get a chance, you know what I want to say to Aunt Janice? I want to say, what would your father say? Your father fought for black communities. And for, and I'm going to throw this in, white lives matter, Asian lives matter. We're Angelinos, we're Americans.
Said Moses and Neil and Amy Fraser are partners. We also have social enterprise partners.
And here's something else. I don't like the word supervisor. You're not my supervisor. We're your supervisor. That's how it's supposed to be.
We are extremely disappointed in the current recommendation.
There's Mr. Previn. You know he's going to speak out against this too. They can't get one Republican to run against Sheila Kuehl. He's running against her.
Report concluded that at least 2 of Sunset protest assertions have merit.
It's almost like a waste of time. It's like nothing short of, life on Earth, eternal life on Earth being a supervisor. That's why they want the job. You have a lot of power, and nobody can get rid of you.
Special consideration and allowed to meet with an evaluator to review undisclosed financial documents. PCH Beach failed to disclose pending litigation against the principals as required by the RFP, which include upwards of 100 different lawsuits, including class actions, wage and hour, and discrimination lawsuits. PCH Beach only submitted 2-page sketches while ours. Thank you for your time.
You better talk about that. You definitely should talk about it.
Thank you. It's Eric Previn from the 3rd District. Disclosure, I'm running for County Supervisor and Supervisor Kuehl. But I've always been a fan of the Wolfgang Puck operation. They do a very good job, and I was there at the beginning on the one next to the Tower Records. So the comments here are more about, is this the fair process? And I think at the County Board of Supervisors, that's a fair question, because there's a lot of, these two guys who just gave a presentation as opponents or whatever, their story's probably totally credible. And, then you look at Beaches and Harbors, the group administering it, and well, I have some issues with that's Don Knabe's former territory. Janice Hahn is quiet and appropriate here, but they have a long tradition of favoring various characters. Now, that said, maybe these are great guys, but why early negotiating agreement as opposed to concluding a procurement process and letting them bid? Because there are still so many unidentified factors, and one that's critical is Frank Gehry, who is a treasurer partner, but he is not a spry chicken. So it raises questions of what about all the other possible, so I think that they should be both considered going forward, and let's hope that the best one wins. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Take out who's being recommended. For me, it's all about the process. And I've talked to County Council, and while I appreciate the individual who spoke and whether they're submitting, County Council assures me that in fact, the recommendation moving forward is legally defensible as it relates to process. But as someone who believes that when we ask people to respond to an RFP, we have to be transparent and we have to be consistent.
Oh my God.
I just have a fundamental concern about how this played out. On both sides, by the way, on both Beaches and Harbor, as well as those that responded. If not responsive, then the process is in question. And that's why I asked about the one company that submitted that was disqualified. What was the disqualification based on? Because if you're disqualifying one based on omissions, errors and omissions, then it should be a consistent policy throughout the entire process. So it's not about who's being recommended, because believe me, I'm very impressed with the sketch that was shown. And quite frankly, having not missed many meals, I know that the food will be good. But for me, it is about the process.
Yep.
And for that reason, I'm just having a real time struggle, even though I know, and again, I emphasize this because I've talked to County Council, that they believe that legally this is appropriate to move forward with recommendation based on what Beaches and Harbor is saying. But I just have to, for the record, say that for me personally, as someone who, prior to being elected, supported libraries when they disqualified. It was one of the recommended bidders because they did not provide their financials. And with the RFP on the ambulance, when they didn't follow it, I was very strongly opposed to moving forward because of the process. And so I just have to really get on the record stating that. But again, it's not a reflection on the recommended winner. It's more on process for me.
Well, it's a little bit of a difficult situation because those who were not selected have hired counsel, and so essentially, we're kind of in a position where we're not answering all of the legal questions. But let me ask County Council, because it's a matter of process. The letter that you sent, and I believe all members received, indicated that the process was not only legally defensible, but had been carried out correctly in your opinion. I also understand that there were some deficiencies in each of the finalists' applications, which they were allowed to correct. So I think, the history of this is a pretty famous place in my district, and it's over the years kind of fallen into some disrepair and not, losing its reputation really, but so much more could have been done at the intersection of Sunset Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway. The county owns the Gladstone name, though I think maybe, Mr. Puck will decide not to use it, which means that those who are using it in other cities may want to buy it, I don't know. But this is a big deal. And so when we asked for the RFP to go out, it was very specific about a lot of concerns that the county has, including emphasizing the labor peace agreement, the PLA, all the things that the county really cares about in terms of the people who work in a place. But for me, it was also about the people going to the place. Was there sufficient transit access? All kinds of transportation. That's why the transportation piece was so important. You have to be able to get there, and also we're trying to tell people don't drive your cars anymore. It's expensive to park,
Oh my God, did you hear that? Gary should be all over that. Don't drive your cars anymore.
Another way. So we wanted to make sure there were bus accessible.
I mean, she was very candid about it. No more cars.
And from what I understand, Mr. Jones, I wanted to ask you, I understand that when all the points were summed up, everything that was submitted, there was quite a gap in the number of points.
I can't believe how messed up this is. There's like no transparency. I don't know anything about this.
Candidates, is that correct?
That is correct, Chair. It was almost 80 points differential between...
How many?
80 points between the first place and the second place. Excuse me, 80 points, 80.
80.
So, Council, can you tell us about your response about the process and your confidence that it was defensible?
Supervisor, certainly. Yes, we did respond, and our office responded to a letter submitted by Sunset's Council, and we pointed out and we firmly believe that the process was appropriate and legally defensible.
Well, these are always difficult, especially something so kind of really cool, if I may say it like this. And I understand the group who really believes that it should have been done, and I certainly, as an attorney, believe in the American legal system, so whatever you do, you do. But I feel very confident about this partnership that's been selected and about the process. And so I would move this item and have a second by Supervisor Solis. So I think since we've indicated possibly not unanimity, we'll have a roll call.
The item before you is item 25, Supervisor Solis. Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Hahn?
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Supervisor Barger?
No.
Supervisor Barger, no. Supervisor Kuehl?
Aye.
Supervisor Kuehl, aye. Motion carries 3-1.
Thank you to everyone who's been here to present, and thank you for those who've spent years working on this. This is just the first step, of course. So thank you. We'll go now to item 6.
So she...
Item 6, we also have
Barger is the
some,
sometime independent voice.
very important and welcome guests to come and talk to us about this. But I want to say that in the Student Bill of Rights, to equity and arts education, it is critical for everyone to acknowledge the value
He represents
of arts
Hawthorne.
education and a well-rounded
That's
education.
right. Who's in charge of
Because it allows
Pasadena?
all
I think that's
students
Barger.
the opportunity to understand the world around them, the part art plays
Okay, this
in
is
the
us.
creation of societies,
This is us.
defining cultures, gaining an understanding of the interplay between science, math, history, language development, and the ways in which ideas
Oh, wait a minute,
are
I
moved
signed up for this,
forward
didn't
through art. Art also allows for the
Let me talk to her really
exploration
quick.
of new ideas. How else will we try out what we want to see and use our imagination? The use of artistic expression in every academic subject allows students to become critical consumers of the world around them.
Consumers?
They're able to formulate questions, to gather new information, to incorporate their learning into each new situation. Without exposure to the arts, creativity in oneself is left fallow, with no way or avenue of expression. The understanding of the role the arts play in the development of culture is important in order for students to see links between culture shifts in literature, in paintings, in music, in dance, in design. It allows students to see agency within themselves, to navigate the world in which they exist, and to change that world, to create the outcomes that they desire for themselves. Art as an academic subject is part of Common Core, and it has specific content standards for every grade, from pre-K through 12. Recently, the California State Legislature determined there should be a teaching credential in art, something long overdue in this creative capital of the country.
There should be one.
How can we agree to the need for the study of art in education leading to a credential if we don't also assert that every student deserves the right to equity in arts programming? In acknowledging that right today, this Board of Supervisors, should it adopt this item number 6, is taking the first step in recognizing and encouraging every school district in the county to provide equity in arts education for every student. Supervisor Solis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm honored to be a co-author with you on this motion. I can't imagine anything more important for us today to celebrate. With the notice of folks in the audience that were here earlier to help us talk about the importance of art in culture, in therapy, in economic development, all those aspects are so important. But I come now from a different venue, having served now for the last 3 years as a County Board of Supervisor, to see how important access to the arts overall is, especially for communities that wouldn't otherwise have the ability to come and watch performances, or come and see the LA Field, or come to the Music Center, or come to the LA Opera, or even be able to go to some of our pristine museums. All of that put together says something about where we are as a county. And I definitely want to say that it's been a privilege and an honor to be able to move the needle a bit so that we really do more in the area of art access for all. And I'm happy that this board didn't just say it, but we actually put our money where our mouth was. We passed a cultural equity and inclusion initiative this last year, and we put $1 million into that initiative. And I hope that we can do more and get other partners, especially philanthropic funders and other corporations.
Ms. Medina? Okay. So I did sign up for 6. So what's going to happen?
So
They will call me up?
This is a board held item.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you asked me. So this is a board held item. So we have 4 minutes left.
Okay, so I can...
You can use 1 minute or 2 minutes on it.
Okay.
You have up to 2 minutes.
Okay, and then 2 for everything else.
Exactly. You're good with that? You want to use 1 minute on it, or you want to use 2 minutes?
Right on. Let me...
When you're ready, think about it, but when they call
I'll be able to tell you when you call me.
Yes, thank you.
Madam Chair, again, Los Angeles County is definitely being a leader on this. We're the first municipality in California to adopt this Declaration of Students' Rights to Equity in Arts and Learning. And I think it really does put us on the cutting edge. And again, hopefully the rest of the country will look to us for leadership. Our LA County Arts Education Collective can empower educators, leaders, community members to help to develop this cross-cultural awareness with our students. It can empower students from historically underrepresented communities, like our foster youth and our LGBTQ youth, our students of color, special needs students, and others. I think this is so important, and I wanted to thank Supervisor Kuhl and Solis for being leaders in this area. I appreciate this work.
Thank you so much. Madam Executive Officer, please call forward those we've invited to speak and those who signed up to speak.
Will the following individuals please come forward and staff will assist you? Yaya Gomez, Bethlehem Slayfu, Eric Previn, and Arthur Schaefer. Please come forward.
One, okay.
Welcome. Please go ahead. And speak right into the mic so we can hear you.
Good morning, LA County Board of Supervisors. Thank you for having me. My name is Yana Gomez. I'm 17 years old. I am from Board District 1. I'm here to support the motion of the Student Bill of Rights for the Arts. The Student Bill of Rights will ensure greater access to the arts for underserved communities. I am really bad at speaking publicly. It began with a family problem, then soon enough socially. Growing up, it was difficult due to being diagnosed with anxiety and depression at a young age. This year marks 6 years in therapy. I appreciate my therapist and master person who represents the LGBT community on TV and makes somebody else feel better. My school has a theater class that I wasn't aware of until my senior year, which this year, you won't believe the opportunities that I have done since. I became a student ambassador for Sensitivity Group. I attend CASA 0101, and I mentor young filmmakers at Dolores Elementary School. I am a speaker for Arts Day LA this April 20th. I will also be the first of my family to attend college after high school, and that one makes my mom very proud. She was really happy for me, yet I'm doing all of this in my senior year. I'm grateful, but yet disappointed. Can you imagine all the things I could have done if I was given these resources earlier? I propose a Student Bill of Rights for the Arts. Students who have access to these resources in high school exceed with an average 3.0 GPA. The graduation rate is on average 30% higher, while the dropout rate is 7% lower. The Student Bill of Rights will give everyone an opportunity to explore the different courses through high school, as well as for those who are already seeking it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to testify. I was the first one in my family to go to college, too. So good luck. Good luck. Next speaker, please. Go ahead, ready to the mic, please.
Good morning, LA County Board of Supervisors. My name is Bethlehem Seifu. I'm 17 years old, attending St. Mary's Academy, residing in District 2. I'm here to support the motion for the Student Bill of Rights. Growing up as a first-generation minority, with both my parents being refugees with completely different expectations and standards of living, I deeply struggled with expression, academics, and basic socializational skills. My mother often worked from when I returned from school until I was already asleep. My father worked a graveyard shift, but regardless, he only had custody rights of my brother and I on the weekends. Being young and naive, my siblings and I never spent time with one another and or had a large age gap, so I lacked affection and a strong foundation with them. As it would seem, going to school should have been an exciting experience, but that was not my case due to struggling and being excluded by my peers. I felt I had no way of opening up and sharing my interests and talents with others until I found an empty book in the computer lab one day. What was full of empty pages would commence my journey of expression, understanding, and acceptance. Since then on, I had enhanced my speaking, reading, writing, and calligraphy skills. My persistent practice in free writing is what inflamed my passion for screenplays and acting. Since then on, I knew both my path was the arts. As much as my parents had directed me into what they deemed a stable path, I knew I could only excel if I pursued a passion, not money. To this day, I have found myself to be more voiced and have encouraged so many students regardless of their career choice. I have found that in schools, the arts path is not as valued as other paths such as math, science, and health. Schools are not investing enough time in hiring proper teaching staff, providing equal opportunities for students, and investing in field days to explore the workforce. I am an advocate for equal educational opportunities, and I'm certain that excluding the arts because it is deemed unimportant through the eyes of another is a violation of the Student Bill of Rights. I'm a member of the Center Theater Group Ambassador Program, and I assure you all that we are more than willing to partner with your offices to advocate for the arts education. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide a platform for the students to share their support for the arts education in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming down here today. We appreciate it. Please call the rest of the speakers.
Our last speaker, Chanel Temple, please come down and staff will assist you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Arthur Schopper. That's how my last name is pronounced. I do find we want to allow for equity as a matter of opportunity, not as a result. I think that these bills of rights can be counterproductive. But the bigger reason I speak out is I think that this should be amended. Legal status does matter. I think it's outrageous that our public schools, paid by taxpayers, citizens, see their funding going to those who shouldn't be in this country in the first place. Illegal immigration is a problem in this country, in this county. We shouldn't be subsidizing it. Legal status does matter. Taxpayer dollars should be going for citizens and for the children of citizens in our schools, not to illegals. The general language is acceptable. I do think these are local issues ultimately, but we need to put the needs of Americans and American children first, not illegals. Legal status does matter. You had this discussion earlier this morning on this matter, and it's unfortunate that you're still trying to ignore this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Chanel Temple. I agree with Arthur when he said that this item should be amended. I'm a poet, I'm an artist, and I noticed that you guys keep playing tricks with the language. Like in this paragraph, you say all students. Define all students. What do you mean by all students? Okay? Because all taxpayers, all Americans pay taxes. Illegals claim they pay taxes too, but they don't, because they claim the people in their country.
Hey, Ernest.
Okay? I'm a federal registered taxpayer, and I know this for a fact. My daughter is an American student. She went to college and she wanted to take a photography class, which falls under art. You know what they did when she put up on financial aid? They tore the application up in her face. Okay? So again, this needs to be amended, and American citizens and students should come first, okay? And you need to change your little scheme when it comes to diversity, because you're advertising diversity, but we know it's not diverse, because a lot of black students are left out. And that's what's going on, again, in the black community. You know, this is kind of, I'm surprised at you. Your father was the only politician that met Martin Luther King at the airport when he came, okay? He helped build up the black community. You have helped tear it down with racist, illegal immigration. And again, I say, you guys can redeem yourself, okay? You can redeem yourself and join that amicus brief with Jeff Sessions, the file against racist sanctuary states.
All right.
That concludes the speakers who signed up on this item. Moved by Supervisor Solis and seconded by Supervisor Hahn. Any objection to a unanimous vote? Seeing none, that will be the action. I'd also like to thank Demetria Hadley Hayes on my staff for putting a lot of work into it. So the next item is item 22. Supervisor Hahn, I think you have an amendment.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I understand in this item that the Department of Health Services is asking for authority to extend this master agreement in order to evaluate our current DHS lab system. And I want to thank the department for initiating their work with a consultant in order to look for opportunities to maximize efficiency and bring back some of these services in-house whenever possible. I would like to hear back from the department on these findings and the plans that DHS has for our laboratory system.
Good one.
As such, I would like to read in
Going after Aunt Janice like
item
that.
22.
That's outrageous.
I therefore move that the Board of Supervisors instruct the acting Director of the Department of Health Services to report back to our board in 180 days with a status update on the analysis of the existing laboratory operations with recommendations to be completed at DHS facilities, and report back each 6 months thereafter with an update on the strategy and implementation timeline. Thank you.
Second the amendment. Do we need to vote separately on the amendment and the item? I know we have speakers, but I'm asking about process. You can simply incorporate the amendment into the item. All right. Madam Executive Officer, please call those who signed up to speak.
Would Dr. Genevieve Claverell please come forward?
Welcome.
Supervisor Dr. Geneviève Clapon. I have one question. In a support document, it did not specify which laboratory will do what and so on. I think it would have been very nice to see that because different laboratories have different qualifications. And I just wanted to know how this was selected and why and so on. That'd be nice. When we have items like this one, we are given more specific.
Okay, thank you.
What's it for?
I think that we should vote separately on an amendment to an item when it's not a motion. Just left over maybe from high school council, I don't know. That's where I learned my Robert's Rules of Order. Council, do you have any advice?
You certainly can, Supervisor. Because it's a friendly amendment, I'm not sure it's necessary, but it certainly is important.
Well,
They're getting caught up in rules, aren't they now, Chanel? They get caught up in rules on how to vote for stuff, but they don't give a rat crap about illegals breaking into the country. Oh, there's rules for us. There's rules for us. We got to play by the rules, but they don't.
I'm just going to err on the side of the process.
We're not having that.
Is there any objection to amending?
Boy, this is just such a corrupt process. I don't know what you do about a board of supervisors meeting. They should have it. They should have it like in the morning or something. Or they got to pass a law where I don't
Given the
know.
incorporation of the amendment, Supervisor. Oh, do we have any other speaker?
I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Supervisor Hahn moves. Supervisor Barker seconds. Any objection
To rip off
unanimous
Thomas?
vote on item 22? Seeing none, that will be the action. All right, we'll move then to
Oh, let's do that. Okay, we'll go
item
together.
47.
He believes in borders for his house.
Was originally scheduled last week during public hearing meeting, and because it is a public hearing, we need all individuals who are going to testify on item 47 to please rise and be sworn in. Anyone here that indicates they want to speak on item 47, please rise and be sworn in.
All those who plan to testify before the board on the public hearing item, please stand and
This
raise
used to
your
be
right
such a
hand.
beautiful county.
In the testimony you may give before this board, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
What is it?
On item 47, it's
wanna
a
go now?
hearing on the proposed
Okay.
power
We
purchase
might-
agreements
we don't
for
have to go through the-
installation, operation, and maintenance of solar panels.
All right, folks, we'll be back.
Facilities. They're in the departmental